21st of February, Rabbi Moore, Parsha Hashavua.
Give us a okay. It could well be something like onyx. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay, so they're Shoham stones and filling stones for the ephod and for the choshen. The ephod is the apron, and the choshen is the breastplate, I believe.
Right. Actually, it's interesting. The word ephod, E-P-H-O-D, does appear in Webster's.
It does?
Appear in Webster's dictionary.
Ah, I see.
And it's obviously explained as being the priestly worn by the special garment worn by the high priest.
All right. Okay, so Rashi says that the Shoham stones, Shtaim Hutz Rechu Sham Litzorech Ha'ephod Ha'amur Biv Ata Titzaveh. Two were needed for the requirement of the ephod, which is mentioned in Tetzaveh, in Parsha Tetzaveh. Muluim, filling.
Now, let me explain what Rashi's on about over here. Rashi's got a question. Then in Parshas Tetzaveh, it mentions, besides these Avnei Shoham, it says, it mentions one of the 12 miluim, as we're going to see. The next Rashi is going to say these filling stones, and one of them is, in fact, this penultimate one is, Tarshish v'Shoyam v'Yoshve. So Shoyam was one of the 12 Avnei Miluim. So why is it singled out over here? So Rashi's pointing out that there were, in fact, the Kohen Gadol wore 3 Avnei Shoyam. One which was on the breastplate, and another 2, which these were like one on his shoulders, as Rashi is going to explain in Parshas Tetzaveh. They were worn like a kind of epaulets, I think is the right word. Okay?
Okay. So you're saying the reason he's mentioning it is because there's 3 of them?
Yeah, there's more. In other words, these shoham, they were besides the regular shoham stone, which was in the breastplate, there were an extra avnei shoham, not part of the breastplate. That's what Rashi explains. That they needed 2 there for the tzorech ha'ephod, which was they were used as epaulets on the ephod, besides the breastplate. Okay, that's what Rashi's pointing out over here.
Al Shem She'otzin Lahem B'Zahav Moshav Kemin Guma. Okay, Al Shem, because they make an indented setting for them in gold. Okay, so the word Guma, I guess, is what's being translated as indented.
Well, correct.
V'nos nin ha-even sham le-mal'os ha-guma. Okay, and put the stone there to fill the indentation. Avnei miluim.
Therefore, kruyim avnei miluim.
They are called filling stones because they go in the hole.
Right, they fill up the hole. They fill up the indentation.
Umakom ha-moshav karui mishbetzes. And the place of the setting is called a frame.
Yeah,
So the hole is called a frame.
I didn't call it, no, mishpetza means like, let's see how I've translated it. I just said means mishpetzet. And the place of the setting is called mishpetzet, a frame. Okay, yeah. Okay,
Okay. Le'ephod v'lachoshen. For the apron and for the breastplate. Avnei hashoham la'ephod va'avnei hamiluim lachoshen. The shoham stones for the apron and the filling stones for the breastplate.
okay, yeah. In other words, there was one was for one and one was for the other. That's what Rashi's pointing out over here.
Doesn't there 12 in the Choshen?
No, I'm saying one term. Avnei Shoyam was for the ephod, and the Avnei Miluim was for the Choshen. In other words, you could misunderstand and saying Avnei Shoyam, Avnei Miluim, La'afed, La'choshen means that both were needed for both.
Ah, I see.
So Rashi's pointing out the Avnei Shoyam was for the ephod, and the Avnei Miluim was for the Choshen.
The Choshen ve'ephod for Rashim biv'ata titzaveh. And the Choshen and the ephod are described in Parsha Titzaveh. Behem minei tachshit. And they are types of ornaments. So the ephod and the choshen are considered to be ornaments by Rashi.
Yeah, I think I translated not ornaments rather than adornments. Okay.
That does not seem to fit. I mean, that might fit the ephod, but the choshen is not an adornment or an ornament. The choshen has a function. It's there for a purpose. It's not just an ornament.
Okay. The mice, I believe at the time of the second Beis Hamikdash, yeah, they didn't have Urim V'Tumim.
Okay, but
nevertheless, the Kohen Gadol wore the breastplate. Right,
and it still has the one stone for each tribe.
Right, it didn't have this special power that it could light up and give messages.
Oh, I see. Sure. Saying it's an adornment because it lost its function.
Yeah, or it means it had a double function, meaning it was an adornment, and in addition, it had served the purpose with the Urim V'Tumim that it would when it not at all times, but it could receive messages from Hashem and indicate to us messages from Hashem through the letters on the breastplate lighting up. Okay.
All right. V'asu li mikdash v'shachanti b'socham. Okay, so and they shall make for me a sanctuary, so that I may dwell among them.
Right.
So Rashi says, "Vasu li mikdash, vasu lishmi ves kedusha." They will make a house of sanctity to my name.
Yeah, for my sake. For my sake. What Rashi is pointing out over here, points. One is, right, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't need a house. Okay,
Why do you say that that Rashi is saying that?
because that means also li, to make me a sanctuary. Kosh Baruch Hu doesn't need a sanctuary. It's for my sake, meaning it's a place designated for the purpose of us closer to Hashem. But Akash Baruch Hu per se, as for himself, he doesn't need a place. In other words, he doesn't need a place to be, because Akash Baruch Hu is here, there, and everywhere. Okay, and that's why actually also it says Vashochanti b'seicham, I will dwell among them.
So are you getting this from other sources, or are you saying that this is all in this 3 words of Rashi?
It's no, but the main point where Rashi's pointed out, li does not mean for me. That Kosh Baruch Hu needs a place to be. Okay, that's what the commentaries on Rashi explain. That's what Rashi says, also lishmi. Now, and what does it mean, base kedusha? Yeah, he's also, I mean, Rashi's explaining what a mikdash is. A mikdash is a house of holiness. But not necessarily that, and that's why, in other words, the Mefarshim also say this on Rashi as well. I mean, that's cover Rashi's cover, because we would have expected the pasuk to say, "V'asuli mikdash v'shochanti b'soichai." I will dwell in it. If that's it, if it was a place for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be, kaviyachol. So therefore, Rashi is pointing out that the making me a mikdash is make for my sake a house of holiness, a holy place which is dedicated for serving me, and thereby thereby will able to dwell among them. Meaning, when they do the service to me for my sake, then I will bring my Shekhinah into this mikdash, and they will feel the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu there in that Beis HaMikdash. With me?
I'm with you. I understand what you're saying, but I still don't see how you're getting that from Vasu Lishmi Beis Kedusha.
Because
I hear you're saying that it's that to my name instead of Li to me. I hear that, but this whole thing with I will dwell in it instead of I will dwell in them. I don't know where you're getting that.
Okay, fine, but I'm just pointing it out. That's also true. Okay.
Isn't that a midrash?
Whether it's Rashi's kavanah in mentioning that or not. Okay.
All right, 9. Kechol asher ani mar'eh oscha es tavnis ha mishkan ve'es tavnis kol kelav v'chein ta'asu. All right, so and that all that I show you the form of the tabernacle and the form of all the vessels, so shall you do. So shall you do.
Okay.
So Rashi says.
Now, so these last 2 words seem kind of not redundant, but
unnecessary.
We'll see Rashi's going to explain. We'll see. Let's see the Rashi, okay? Before I don't want to jump the gun.
All right. So kechol asher ani mar'eh oscha, like all that I show you. Kan es tavnis ha mishkan. Here, the form of the Mishkan, hamik ra.
And also the form. Tavnis is more like the
My English says the format.
Yeah, maybe format is a better. It means the plan.
The plan. Or the layout, maybe.
Right. I can't really see how I translated it. Hold on a second. The model, I said. Model of the dwelling.
Oh, model. That's a good word. Model. Hamikra hazeh mechubar la mikra shel mala hemenu. This verse is connected to the verse above it, i.e., the previous verse. Va'asu li mikra kechol asher ani mar'eh oscha. And they shall make for me a sanctuary like everything that I show you.
Showing you.
What?
In other words, Rashi's pointing out that Pasuk Ches and Pasuk Tes are connected. Vasuli Mikdash, they shall make for me a sanctuary, Shavashachanti Besoicham, that I may dwell among them. Like everything that I am showing you. Make it in such a way like as I am showing you. Eis Tavnis HaMishkan, the model of the Mishkan, Eis Tavnis Kol Kelov. And the model, the model of all its vessels. Okay, so that's how Rashi's explaining the pasuk. No, that's what it says. Mikra hazeh mechuber lemikra shel ha'ma'ala menu. This pasuk is connected to the previous pasuk.
Okay, so in the previous pasuk it says mikdash, and in this pasuk it says
Mishkan. That's a good point. I don't
Mishkan.
know.
So you're saying Rashi's telling us that mikdash and Mishkan are the same thing?
Yes. In fact, not only Rashi tells us that, but the Gemara mentions that.
Okay, so what's Rashi's telling us?
But Rashi's saying that this pasuk, the first part of this pasuk, is connected to pasuk Ches. In other words, you have to read them together. They shall make for me a mikdash, and that I may dwell among them. How are they supposed to make it? Like all that I am showing you, the model of the Mishkan, the model of all its vessels, so you shall make the mikdash.
Okay, so you shall do.
So now we're running into a problem. Rashi's going to mention this now. Peitas is like redundant. The Pasuk already told you that.
Right. In future generations.
So that's what Rashi's saying. And so you shall do in future generations. I.e., it carries on Rashi to explain.
Im Yovad echad mi hakelim. If one of the vessels should be lost, o kisheta'asu li clay base olamim, or when you will make the vessels of the eternal house.
Yeah, of the eternal house.
What's that mean?
That was referring to the Beis Hamikdash. But it was called Beis Olamim because every Mishkan, even there wasn't just the one version of the Mishkan, there was afterwards the Mishkan in Shiloh, and then afterwards it went to Noiv, and then it went to Givon. But once the Beis Hamikdash was built, there was no other place where they built a Mikdash, or Mishkan for that.
When you say version, I thought there was one Mikdash and it would just move to those different places. Are you saying they actually built a new one in each place?
No, what I'm saying is as follows. the Lemosho, after they built this Mishkan, which they took with them in the desert for 40 years. They took that with them, and they set it up and took it down each time they traveled, took it down each time they traveled, set it up again each time they stopped. And then when they crossed over the Jordan, crossed into Eretz Yisrael, the 14 years they were busy conquering the land and dividing it up. During those 14 years, the Mishkan stood as a Mishkan, as a temporary dwelling, same as it stood in the desert, for 14 years in Gilgal. Then, afterwards, once they had settled, then they built a Mishkan in Shiloh, which was, instead of having the wooden structure, or the structure made of wooden beams, which they've had in the desert and in Gilgal, they now built stone walls, but the covering, the roof of this structure was made of the same drapes which they'd had in the. It was still called a Mishkan, okay, but it wasn't. The walls were made of stone, not of wood, and that was in Shiloh. That was Mishkan Shiloh.
They dismantled the Mishkan in Shiloh, and they took part
in
of
Gilgal. They dismantled the Mishkan in Gilgal, and then they moved it to. They set up a new Mishkan, well, with proper stone walls in Shiloh.
So in Gilgal, the Mishkan from the desert, was in Gilgal for 14 years.
Right.
And then they dismantled that Mishkan.
Right.
They took part of it, which was basically the drapes and
the covers,
the coverings, and they transported them to Gilgal.
And to Shiloh.
I'm sorry, they transported them to Shiloh, and in Shiloh they built walls of stone, and they put all those drapes and skins and coverings on the stone structure that they built in Shiloh.
Correct.
And the wooden frame remained in Gilgal.
I don't know what they did with the beams. I have no idea. I don't think it stood there.
They probably disposed of them, I guess. I mean, they would be very holy, right?
The Chayra, I think there's a measure somewhere that will be used in the Osid Lavoy. I don't know in the Mashiach comes. But what they did with him, I don't know. Because it says, Oimdim lo'olam, Atzei shitim oimdim. And Rashi says, I think Rashi doesn't bring it here. It mentions they were always standing. One second. Chapter 2. Yeah. So Rashi doesn't say. Yeah. If
they were going to reuse them, then I presume they would have buried them, right?
I don't know. I have to check it out. Because as far as I remember, these beams were Chazal Darshan Oimdim. Now, the Torah is an everlasting. Torah says it was written before creation, and it's eternal. So if the Torah says they are standing, right? Shittim wood, beams of shittim wood standing, that means they're standing forever. That's how the Midrash understands it. So it says that they were existent forever. But I have to check it out exactly what it says over there. I'll call upon him. So the Mishkan was in Shiloh for 369 years until it was destroyed by the Philistines, by the Plishtim. And then when Plishtim, and they actually took captive the Oron, the Golden Ark. They took it with them into Philistine, to Eretz Plishtim. And then but however, they still continued to offer. There was a Mishkan without the Oron in Nov Irakonim, and also in Givon. Okay, that was after Nov Irakonim. Was a whole story there that they gave refuge, and they gave lechem aponim to David HaMelech to eat. It wasn't David HaMelech yet, but they allowed him to eat from it because he was in mortal danger. He was achsoso bulmus. He was like delirious from exhaustion, and he was at a point of total collapse. And therefore, the Kohen Gadol gave David HaMelech of the lechem aponim because they had no other food to give him. So they gave him of the lechem aponim in order to revive him. And when Shaul heard about that, he was furious because he felt that was besides the fact that Shaul was kind of possessed with a spirit, that he therefore he had this incensed hatred towards David, who was actually his son-in-law. But the Maisa, therefore, as a result of that, Shaul HaMelech killed out all the Kohanim because they'd given from the lechem upon him to David. Anyway, upon him from there, so it was in Noel for a number of years, and then afterwards it was in Givon. So those years, 57 years, it was without walls. It was a wooden structure again, as far as I know. That's what I understood. Until Shlomo HaMelech built the Beis HaMikdash.
So in Nof, they built a new structure out of wood?
I don't know if it was a new structure or they took the old wood, which they still had. That I don't know.
From the first place.
Right.
So maybe they left that standing for that 300 and some years.
It's unlikely. But they certainly kept it.
So we don't know what they did with it, but somehow they kept it and they brought it to Nof and
Nov, a non vase. Nov.
Nov.
There is actually where this Nov was somewhere in the region of your central Eretz Yisrael, and it's not to be mixed up, but there is actually a town or a settlement called Nov in the Golan Heights, but that's not the same place. Okay. Okay.
All right, I think our time is
up. Anyway, that's why it's called Beis Olamim. So going back to the Rashi over here, we'll have to go over it again tomorrow, Be'ezrat Hashem. But that's Beis Olamim. The Beis HaMikdash was called Beis Olamim because once the Beis HaMikdash was built in Yerushalayim, there was no other place where there was going to be a mikdash. Only in Yerushalayim. Hara Moriah, the Makam HaMikdash, that's where the only place where they're going to build the Beis HaMikdash, and that's why it's called Beis Olamim, the everlasting, the eternal house.
Even though it was destroyed.
Right, but when it was rebuilt in the same place, and B'mheira Be'ez Hashem, it will be rebuilt in the same place speedily in our days. Be'ezrat Hashem.
Amen.
Okay, we'll stop here. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Yechiel.